What if I told you the thing you thought was the worst day of your life was actually the day God began the greatest chapter of your story? What if the loss you can't stop replaying was not a setback, but the setup for a blessing so big you wouldn't believe it if you saw it right now? Before this video ends, you'll see why everything that left had to leave. You didn't find this video by accident. God brought you here because He has something to say to you. There are seasons in life when it feels like everything you built your world on has been pulled out from under you. One day, the path is clear. The next, it's a maze. One day, you're surrounded by people who promise they'll never leave. The next, you're sitting alone wondering if any of it was ever real. It's in those moments, when you're standing in the wreckage, that your mind tells you it's over, that the best is behind you, that the future will never hold what the past once gave. And yet, throughout Scripture and in countless lives, God keeps proving the same truth. What's ahead is not just as good as what you lost. It is greater, not equal, not a replacement. Greater. Look at Joseph. He was favored by his father, given a robe that set him apart, trusted with dreams that pointed toward leadership. That was his world. Then, in one violent moment, his own brother stripped that robe away, threw him into a pit, and sold him into slavery. To most people, that would be the end of the story. But God was working a plan that Joseph couldn't see. Every injustice was positioning him closer to his purpose. The pit was not punishment. It was transportation. And isn't that how life feels sometimes? We see the loss as an ending. God sees it as a detour to something better. The door you prayed to keep open was shut because it would have kept you from the one He has waiting. The relationship that fell apart wasn't just about heartbreak. It was about clearing the space for a connection that aligns with His destiny for you. The problem is, we are creatures of comfort. We cling to what we know, even when it's no longer serving us. We convince ourselves that familiar is better than unknown. But the comfortable place can also be the place where dreams quietly die. That's why God sometimes has to allow the shaking. He has to let certain things collapse so He can rebuild on a foundation that will last. And here's the hard part. God's timeline is not ours. We want it now. We want to recover instantly. We think the loss should be followed by immediate restoration. But God works at the speed of preparation, not impatience. David was anointed as king while still a boy. If it were up to us, he would have walked straight from the shepherd's field to the throne room. But God took years, years of training, of battles, of hiding in caves, to shape him into a man who could carry the weight of a crown. That waiting can feel unbearable. But delay is not God's. No, delay is God's. Not yet. If He gives you what you're praying for before you're ready, the blessing could destroy you. It's like handing a priceless treasure to someone who has no idea how to care for it. The delay is not to deprive you. It's to develop you. And often, in that delay, we find ourselves in the wilderness. The Israelites were freed from Egypt in a single night, but it took 40 years to reach the promised land. Not because God didn't know the way, but because the people weren't ready for it. The wilderness was a classroom. It stripped away their false sources of security and taught them who their true provider was. You might be in your own wilderness right now. Maybe the systems you depended on have collapsed. Maybe the people you counted on have disappeared. Maybe the path ahead feels so uncertain you're tempted to turn back to the very things that once enslaved you, because at least those felt predictable. But the wilderness is where faith is refined. It's where you learn to trust God for daily bread. It's where you discover that His presence is your real security. If you can stay faithful in the wilderness, if you can keep moving forward when the scenery doesn't change, you will reach a place where the view is more beautiful than you imagined. That's because when God restores, He never gives you just what you lost. He gives you more. Job is the perfect example. He lost his wealth, his health, his children, everything that mattered to him. Yet, when his season of testing was over, God restored him with double what he had before. Double the resources, double the influence, double the joy. The blessing didn't just replace the loss, it surpassed it. But here's where many miss it. Blessings require stewardship. If you're not prepared to handle increase, it can slip through your fingers. You can pray for financial abundance, but if you've never learned how to manage what you have, more money will only magnify the lack of discipline. You can pray for a relationship, but if you haven't healed from the last one, the same wounds will ruin the new one. God's goal is not to just give you the blessing, it's to make sure you can keep it. That's why the past season mattered. It taught you resilience. It taught you humility. It revealed who's truly in your corner and who never was. It showed you the cracks in your foundation so you could repair them before the weight of abundance rests on you. And now you stand on the edge of a new season. The temptation will be to keep looking back, replaying what you lost, rehearsing the pain. But if you keep staring at the closed door, you'll miss the one God is swinging open. The loss was never meant to be your permanent address. It was just a place you passed through on the way to something far greater. The shift happens when you start living like the blessing is already on the way. When you pray with urgency, when you work with focus, when you speak with confidence, not arrogance, but the quiet certainty that comes from knowing God keeps His promises. There will come a moment, maybe sooner than you think, when the phone call, the opportunity, the connection you've been waiting for will arrive. And in that moment, you'll understand why the loss had to happen. You'll see how it cleared the space, how it sharpened your vision, how it prepared your heart. And you'll realize God was never taking from you. He was making room for more than you thought possible. And when you step into that more, you will not just survive, you will flourish. You will walk in peace that can't be shaken, provision that meets every need, and purpose that lights up every day. And you will know deep in your soul, what's coming truly is greater than what you lost.